Hello, I'm Callum and this is my co-host Cheryl.
And this is the How's the Market podcast where we talk all things property.
Each week we discuss a different topic within the property industry to keep you up to date with the latest market trends and news.
This week is all about property investing. The guest that we've got in today is going to talk all about their property journey.
We're joined by ex-Everton and England midfielder Leon Osman. Leon, thank you for coming in.
You're very welcome. I'm enjoying being here.
So far.
So far. Yeah, so we want to have you in today because obviously we know you as an investor. A lot of people know you as ex-Everton and England player. So we wanted to discuss your journey within property investing today. What was it and when was it that you got into property? Was that sort of after football or was that during?
It was during football. During my career, it was something I was interested in when I started my footballing career, and you start to earn money. And I started to think, if and when I do get to that stage of finances, that I would invest. But it happened quite naturally. I bought my very first house for me and my wife to move into, and kept it. When we moved on to the next property, we kept that first one. And rented it out, and it sort of snowballed from there, really.
Yeah, that's what we were actually speaking about that last week with a mortgage advisor that we had in. A lot of people that have become accidental landlords. Yeah. So they've either, just kept their property, or I've had it at times where you couldn't sell the house, so they just kept it because it made sense to keep it. It was a good yielding property. So just built on there, and then I can imagine you just started picking up good earning properties and stuff like that. Has you got an appetite for it?
Yeah, just things that you stumbled across. I'd be looking myself at first, not really having a real understanding of maybe what I was looking for, but was looking in areas I'd either lived or knew well, and knew that they were nice areas, and maybe that was a good price for that area. So I picked up one or two that way. I picked up one because, again, we went to move house, and there was a chain. And for us to sell our house to move into our next house, the chain was obviously happens the way a chain does, and the very bottom house couldn't sell. So I bought the bottom house so that the chain could then knock on, so that I could end up
it's nice that you can do that.
Not everyone
can
the bottom house.
Of
course, but it was an investment, and it was something I looked at. It was in a nice area. It ticked all the boxes with regards to
an investment,
and once you've got 3 or 4 or 4 or 5, and then you start looking at your portfolio in that way, you start to actually enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind next time I've got a chain that's going a bit slow.
Bring Leon.
Get out of jail, car with Leon.
Yeah, I couldn't do it now.
Yeah, definitely. You just mentioned there that you didn't really know what you were looking for. At the start, how was it that, did you decide to work with someone, or did you know someone that was in property that you maybe went to for a chat, or a financial advisor maybe that you were using?
Well, I did have financial advisors, but at the time, I didn't use them for acquiring properties. I mean, the very first person I bounced ideas off was Cheryl back in the day. So we'd look at a property and decide whether we felt it was a good idea, a good investment, what the potential pitfalls were, what could go right, what could go wrong, and made most of our judgments in that way.
Yeah, good. And you just touched on management then as well. So I can imagine for you, obviously, you've got your busy career, you've got your family and stuff, then taking on a property portfolio as well. It's not ideal. So we always talk about people that are cash rich, time poor, and sort of they're sometimes put off management agents. So has that helped you a lot and sort of kept you investing in property using someone like Cheryl?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I turned to Cheryl. She had the time to invest into looking after the properties. I wouldn't say I didn't have the time necessarily. There were moments I did, but the know-how I didn't have, and I didn't have the will or the desire to be enveloped in that side as well.
You had other things going on, didn't you, as well? You had loads, like your media, and obviously you've had your media since. When I first took over, you did have all your football still that was going on. So you did have other things going on, whereas I was solely, my main job was to just manage the portfolio and help it grow.
Yeah, so definitely I think the point that you're at, having that hands off and being able to pass that management over, and especially accruing more properties as well, is what someone like yourself would have been wanting.
Yeah, definitely. So I think from your point, from my point of view, when we've spoken in the past, you wanted to grow your portfolio to a certain point, which you have. But you didn't really want any of the hassle of it, which is where then I came in.
Yeah, didn't want tenants ringing now.
That's putting it mildly.
You didn't want any of the hassle of it with your busy life and everything else. So I came into it, and that's what I did. So I've gone from managing when you had 5 properties, didn't I? We probably should mention at this point that me and Leon are brother and sister, because we weirdly haven't mentioned it before this point.
But that's not the only reason that you use it.
That's not the only reason, no.
No, it's not.
No, definitely. I know with landlords that you've got, and I've never heard anything bad say about what you do. But I think when people come into property, you've either got half of the people are really negative, they're terrified of tenants wrecking properties, and they buy properties that really aren't good yielding properties and stuff like that because you don't know what to do. And the other half, they don't think about management and tenants ringing and your turnover if you don't pick the right tenants and stuff.
I think that was where we sort of led to. I mean, as you touched, I didn't want to be involved daily. I didn't want to be chasing things, but I also didn't want to be now looking at, we're at that stage. I thought maybe Cheryl would now want to look at my next property and look at what the next path would be, whether it would be finding something to do up and do it that way, or something that was already ready. We've tried them both, haven't we? So, and then I think it even snowballed into, now that you're doing this for me, why don't you do this for other people as well? And that's why you were branched off.
There was more of a natural progression with it as well. So it was, I was doing it for Leon and managing his portfolio. And from that and from word of mouth, people would come over to me and say, can you manage our properties? Yeah. So it just kind of grew from there. That's when I got into Arla Property Mark and did all my qualifications through Arla Property Mark. Went and got, obviously I had lots of experience from managing other people's properties. I used to work in a letting agents separately from Leon's portfolio. So
centre for a bit of work experience, didn't I? Yeah. Centre in there, get yourself some work experience. You're not quite ready yet. Go on. But honestly, it did me
the world of good,
Yeah, I'm sure the letting agents thought you were a good loan signer. That's how it was.
Yeah. Well, I told them they could have a permanent and then change my mind.
I was like, no,
change my mind, yeah.
Well, yeah, it was literally kind of getting that work experience did me so much good, because I came out of that knowing, whereas before I was managing your portfolio, when I came out from doing that, I felt more confident knowing that I could manage anyone's portfolio after that, especially with the actual letting agents that I worked in. I was thinking, the whole time I worked there, I was thinking, I can do that better than this. I can make it better than this. So that's what we try and do.
Not naming names.
Not naming names.
No, not naming names.
Not
naming names, but I think that's what you get in when you're working for a corporate agency.
Yeah.
Everything's, it's a volume business. So you've got each member of staff within that office doing probably 3 times the work that they're meant to. If you're doing 3 times the work, you can't offer the service that you're offering. Something I find now, within my own business, taking on less clients and giving them more is benefiting my clients. And same with you. So we're not just residential? Have we done bits of commercial and other things in the past?
Yeah, and again, I think my first commercial, I think I stumbled into as well. I think it was something that came across without sort of being ready for it, but since then realising the opportunities in that as well, and then stretching yourself in that way, and it's different. Thankfully, Cheryl knows about it.
Yeah.
because again, it's
God knows what you would have bought.
But I'm not the best when it comes to the property ladder and the property market. I know certain aspects, I know certain parts that I feel are good and bad, but I lean on Cheryl's expertise for all the other parts.
You're the numbers guy. That's what you are. So we're like yin and yang. So it's yin and yang. Is that right? Yin and yang.
Yeah.
Yin and yang.
So basically, I come in and go, oh my God, this is a great investment. Look at this. These are the numbers. Leon will then analyse all of the numbers, and then we'll decide between us whether that's a good investment between us. So. Yeah. You're the numbers guy.
I get that now, because the amount of property Cheryl sends me through the week, and she's like, what's the valuation on this? What do you think this? How much do you reckon I need spent on it? I'm like, there's another favour, is it, Cheryl?
Yeah, you're all right.
Yeah, just touching on there, you said about Cheryl being there to help you with the purchasing. I was just wondering, obviously you being well known and a Premier League player and sort of considered a high earner, was it never like, I'm just thinking sort of from stories I've heard in the past, do you ever find that you get approached a lot with sort of investments that aren't as good as they seem, but people think that, he doesn't know a lot, maybe he'll buy this if we can not trick him into it, but he's a bit naive. Never had that.
I think maybe at first, when I was younger, there was opportunities that came your way.
Yeah.
And it's all about trying to filter through it, isn't it? I think some of them I probably didn't see through, but you learn from them ones.
Yeah.
And then I think the majority now I like
I'm the gatekeeper now.
I like Cheryl.
It just
All right,
sprung,
good luck.
It just sprung to mind because I worked for an investment company a couple of years ago, and we dealt with a couple of younger players, sort of where their advisors are, they're getting to 23, 24, and their advisors are like, let's start putting a bit of money away, and the stuff that they're advising them to buy, I'm like, there's no growth in that. You're buying it right at the top. The yield's not great. You get better elsewhere, but they're not working with someone, and they get exposed a little bit, unfortunately, and it is sad to see, and that's why people working with Cheryl, benefits them massively because they've not got to think of all that.
You've definitely got to find the right people. And by that, I also mean people you can trust.
Yeah,
people who've got your best interests at heart. And, I don't know if anyone will make 100% the right decisions.
I don't think you can.
Exactly. So if you're in mid-90s and you've got a good trusting relationship and everything's done above board, then I don't think there can be any complaints.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. I always say the best time to buy was yesterday. Because you know what's happened after it and stuff, but you can't go back. But
we are always looking to kind of, you haven't stopped investing in property at any point, so we're still looking to kind of build your portfolio, as and when. Like we were saying before, we are investing in commercial properties, and you've invested in a few now. The property that we work from as CDK Lettings is owned by Leon and his company, so that's. And, another way that we're trying to, diversify his portfolio to make sure that it's, earning a good passive income for him.
Yeah. So we just touched a lot on buy-to-let. I know Cheryl told me a story in the past of a flip that you did. Was it Lake District?
Up in the Lake District.
It sounded like that was something you wish you never done.
Tough going, yeah.
But you've never done it again since.
Learning experience, not yet. And I don't think it means I'll never do one like that again.
Yeah,
I think
go into with a lot more, not more research, but you've got experience.
Yeah, well, we learned a lot from that. And obviously things didn't happen at the right time. I mean, COVID hit pretty much at that time, which meant materials went up, labour couldn't get done, so you had the property for an extra probably year than you actually wanted to. So the turnaround became difficult. There was a number of things that made it tough, but it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't the worst. I don't think we lost.
We didn't lose money. We still made money on it. It just. From the get-go, where you go and see the agents and they go, you can make X amount of money on this, and we're thinking, great, so that's a great investment. And then as it goes on, and the pot just kind of is dwindling, and you're thinking, oh God, I've still got to pay for that. So I think it taught us a lot about budgeting. That was one of the main things. Having a builder. The builder was great, but
you go in, and this is where we're different as well, and you're getting the kitchen done in this new property, for instance, and they're telling you, you've got to get this, it's the best kitchen. She was like, we want it to look wonderful. And I'm like, I'm never going to go in this kitchen. I don't need it to look the top of the range, outstanding this. I need it to be functional, practical, and look really good. And appealing to a buyer. And tick all the boxes, pass all the safety checks, do all of this. And work for whoever's going to move into it. It doesn't have to be the very best material that you can buy. And I think we had that to and fro with the builder.
With the builder, because he was dead passionate about it, wasn't he?
Because he rebuilt it from the ground up. He wanted it to be absolutely second to none in every aspect. It was his signature project, exactly. So I completely understood where it was coming from, but his signature project was cutting into the profits.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was difficult. So it's just another thing that we learned.
Yeah, I think that's where you see it most with people. Like when I started getting interested in property at like 2021, that was something that I wanted to do, flips, which that is probably the end game for me. And that's why I work in the market now, getting that experience, seeing people doing it wrong, seeing people doing it right, and taking from that and doing it in the the But I think a lot of people get too emotional.
Now that you're 22, I was a being into
22,
last year.
I wish.
Oh, we're so old, aren't we?
I get that all the time.
He looks so young, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I get that all the time. Like people are like, you're young for an estate agent. I'm like, I've been doing it for 5 years, both here and abroad. Like, don't
You've got lots of experience, haven't you?
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I got it last year, like, because now I've got my own company and stuff like that. And I'm like, last year I was like, I'm still 24, and got that imposter syndrome a little bit. Because I'm like, I'm a teenager doing with my own property firm. People just think I'm doing that.
I was like that as a footballer, as a lot of people will probably say.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I've had thought about flips. Yeah, you see people getting too emotional with them and making them decisions. So it's not off the cards for in the future, maybe.
Oh no, definitely not. There's a lot of money to be made in that aspect. It's just timing is big, and knowing exactly your budget and the what can go wrong. You know, we've touched on it earlier, but yeah, it's just having a massive awareness of everything that can go wrong, really, and being ready for every eventuality, because, you know, we still earn money from the job, but for the length of time it took compared to the profit, we wouldn't say it went fantastic.
I'm quite the excitable one, aren't I? So when we were up there doing this big project up in the lakes, the biggest one that we'd done, obviously it was a house conversion, and then it was a barn conversion, so literally from scratch. And then I was like, oh my God, we can build all these new, remember? I was thinking, we can build all these new builds and we can do this. And Leon's like, right, rein it in. I was like,
we're gonna make this little village and the children are gonna play here. And
I was dead excited. I was like, oh my God, it can be, I think, what
where are we going to put the swings?
What are we going to do this? And he was just like, Cheryl, no, rein yourself in. Like, let's get these completed first.
Yeah.
And then for how stressful they were, we were like, right, let's have a break from that for a minute and let's start again. So yeah, it is something that we do want to do in the future. Definitely. It is just finding that right. We're definitely not going to jump into it, anything that's going to cause massive amounts of stress.
No, and I think that's where we have still got property prices that are quite high. You see it in sort of the media that they've come down 4% again. For me, I haven't seen it. It's still very competitive in the market, and it's getting more competitive. I always compare, rather than price, the market activity, and sort of get a gauge for intensity off that, and we're back up to, it depends how you gauge it, but we're more than where we were before COVID, which, if you say just before COVID was a stable market, we're probably 10 to 15% more activity.
Well, we got into a couple, not exactly sure whether I was going to be flipping it when I bought it or whether it was going to go into the portfolio. So I think at times you can judge during a project as well. You can see how it's looking, how it's turning on, any interest from people already wanting to rent it or wanting to buy it as you're doing it up. Because I've had a few bits of success on that, and I've had a few that I thought maybe I'd flip round that I've now still got in a portfolio, and some that I definitely thought would be going into a portfolio that got sold so quickly. It's just being aware, keeping your eyes open.
Yeah, I think enough investors, what they do is, or in my experience anyway, is they get all the way to completion before they start speaking to an estate agent. I mean, Cheryl will tell you how many times I sell a property before I managed to put it on the market because I do it correctly. I think maybe 3 to 4 months before you're finishing that project, start speaking to a decent agent who's got buyers, because that's how you're going to get the top price. And it is an investment at the end of the day. You want that top value. Yeah. So that's just a tip for anyone who's watching, who's into flips and stuff like that. If you want to reach out to me, definitely do so. Definitely do so.
Yeah. So just obviously going back to investing, property investing with your portfolio, how important have you found it to have a good team around you to be able to give you good advice?
Vital for me. Because as much as I can enjoy it at certain times, there are times when it demands your immediate attention, or things happen quickly. I mean, things can happen slowly for a week, for a month, and then suddenly everything needs to happen within a day or two. And I'm not ready to deal with things sort of immediately. I might have been away, I might have had a game or, something coming along. So yeah, it's important to have people around you that you trust. So obviously Cheryl looks after all the properties that we have, but you've got like financial advisors, people who work in estate agents themselves, just having people within different aspects of the building. Like we've got someone who works on the ground in houses, architecture and plumbing, and you've got someone who works brickwork. Having a little bit of everything that you can ask. Good network that you can ask opinions, and quite often the decision can get made without me being involved.
It's easier without you sometimes.
I was just thinking that, because I was just thinking, you bought off me last year, but Leon probably didn't even know.
Leon didn't. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I think it went well.
You only knew at the time when I went, Leon, I need this money.
Yeah. Sign this, please. Callum's got us a deal.
Probably.
That was a good deal, that as well.
But yeah, it's good to hear that your best performing property was purchased through me. So again, if you're looking to buy any buy-to-lets, numbers below. But yeah, we've covered a lot there on your property journey. Obviously, it's not sort of the biggest aspect of your life. That'd definitely be your footballing career. So I couldn't, as a football fan, who was maybe 15
now
years
you're
ago
young, aren't you?
wearing Leon Osman kits.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
I wondered who bought that one.
That one kid that got sold.
I'm a red, but one of my older cousins that was growing up corrupted me. Got me into being a blue because that side of the family were all blues. So
that was what it was like with Finley, wasn't it? My eldest.
It would have been around the time when you started playing. So I was you started at 03.
Yeah.
So I'd have been like.
I used to do research. Can you tell?
I knew anyway.
I didn't even know that.
I knew anyway. So about I would have been 5 or 6 with my little Leon Osman kits on. Bless me.
5 or 6.
Does that make you feel dead old?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. That's horrible. That.
I know.
No, so coming in, was it sort of how was making your way into that first team? Was it your debut? Was that something that was sprung upon you, or was that sort of you were in and around the team on the bench, not playing?
I can't say it was sprung upon me in one sense because I was 21, nearly 22 when I made me proper debut for Everton because I'd had so many injuries with my knee operations. So I'd really found it tough. All of my youth team had already played. Some had even been sold. Franny Jeffers, Richard Dunn, they'd all come. Michael Ball, Danny Cadamatri, they'd all come through, had a career at Everton and left and gone on to other things. And I still hadn't managed that. So when my debut eventually came, it was a long time coming.
I was just thinking that would start to set in then, that it wouldn't be, you wouldn't get your chance at Everton?
No, weirdly not, no. I still weirdly believed that I was going to be a professional footballer. I don't know whether that was a strange type of arrogance or whether that's just positive thinking or whatever it might be. But I always still believed I was going to be a professional, and then obviously it transpired. And I think the people around me had stopped believing. The physios definitely told me I wouldn't be a footballer because the knees I've got. But I always believed it.
Yeah, don't know anyone with a good pair of knees.
No, not when you get to my age, that's for sure. You should still be good at your age.
No, I had knee injuries like from 16 to 20 as well.
Did you? That's what stopped you being a player?
No, it didn't stop me from being a player.
That's why you went into a state agency.
Ability stopped me from being a player. But
second on your list of jobs to do.
Yeah, I fancied the state agency instead. It was a choice for me.
I can believe
but
it.
Yeah, I was the same, ligament injuries and then meniscus. So then you start cartilage starts wearing away straight away. But yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't as good as you. Never ever. But yeah, talk us through sort of that debut and stuff, because I can imagine if that was me. Like for me doing this podcast, doing content, I feel nerves on me playing in front of tens of thousands of people. I think I won't be able to feel my legs.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's. I mean, my first debut. I come on as a sub for the last 90 seconds of a game at White Hart Lane, and I wasn't even meant to be on the substitutes bench. I'd just come back from a loan at Carlisle. Richard Wright had got injured as the goalkeeper in the warm-up, so the substitute goalkeeper went in goal, and there was suddenly a space on the bench. Yeah. So I got on the bench, didn't get a chance to warm up because it happened so late. Just went on the bench, did star jumps in front of David Moyes for 90 minutes before he eventually, literally just trying to get me on before he eventually got on. And I mean, again, that was a brilliant moment. We got beat 4-3, but I went home with a big smile on my face that day. And I thought that was it. My football career was up and running. But about 2 or 3 weeks later, we played Middlesbrough in the Carabao Cup, what it is now, in like, I think it was the quarterfinals or maybe the one before that. And it went to penalties, and David Moyes put me on in extra time for like my second appearance ever. Yeah. And I offered to take a pen and missed, and we went out 5-4. And he never gave me a game again for like a year, about 9 months before he gave me another game. Yeah, so it was.
I don't blame him, to be fair.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't blame him myself. I tried to literally make a name for myself. I was like, right, I'll score this penalty, and then you can't not play me then.
Yeah.
But I missed, and I was scared of penalty spots for the rest of my career.
I think a lot of people are, especially after a miss, definitely. Yeah. But what was that like for you though as well? Obviously, because I can imagine at the time that would have been like the biggest thing in your lives. You know, your older brother didn't play, you'd have all been Blues.
Well, yeah, most of the family, my dad started off as a red.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then Leon started playing for Everton, and now we say that he's purple. So he's a bit of red.
Closet red?
No, my dad.
No, my dad's
me.
not him.
Right.
He's an
Settle down.
Evertonian.
I know.
No, my dad.
I think he's all out anyway. He's all closet Reds.
Well, my husband and kids are all Reds, so that's funny. But we were saying before, Finley, my eldest, when we were younger, Leon's kids we were all similar age, and obviously they always used to have Everton kits on, and you used to buy them Everton kits, didn't you?
Every year, yeah.
And so my husband used to go mad.
Yeah,
That's
how I got
every
converted.
time he came round to our house, we forced Everton kits onto him and sent him home. His dad
used to go mad, didn't he?
Phone me up, going mad. Will you stop putting Everton kits on him? I'm going to burn them.
He thought he was an Evertonian for years, and then all of a sudden Leon stopped playing. And then he realised, actually, I think I'm a Red. And
So it wasn't until after you
It was after Leon retired.
I nearly had him.
But not quite. His dad dragged him back over to the good side. No,
what year did you retire?
Well, I stopped playing in 2016, but the joke is I retired in 2013.
I'm just thinking that's when Liverpool are getting up there now. When he's converted.
Yeah, he's gone.
Finley going for the glory hunt.
He's gone for the glory hunt.
That's what he's asked.
It's round about when Jurgen Klopp joined.
That's exactly what I was thinking. He'll be back to years now. Klopp's going.
Oh yeah. Again? No, I don't think he will. I think he's learned his lesson.
No, not on the tough times, haven't. Definitely not.
Yeah, it was good. It was, to be honest though, it was a good start. It took a long time coming.
Yeah.
My Everton debut, but I mean, I eventually had pretty much another year later before I made my first start down at Wolves. I scored a goal after 2 minutes. My mum and dad nearly got chucked out of the away stadium for celebrating because they were in the away end. And that was me. That was my career really up and running, and from that moment, it was I was in the first team then.
Yeah,
it was good.
We used to get to go to the lounge and go and get drunk every Saturday when we used to watch it.
Oh yeah. So I got tickets for in one of the lounges so they can have a bite to eat because my kids keep them out the way. And so my mum and dad as well. So I'd have to go pick them up before the game, take them all to the game, drop them off.
Oh, so you did hours before.
Yeah, so hours before, so they'd be on the ale enjoying it, and then I'd pick them up after the game and take them home. And if we won, it wasn't the end of the world because I was up and happy and bouncing myself, and they were all drunk. If the game hadn't gone well, taking a car full of drunkens home after the game.
My mum and dad used to love it, didn't they?
Yeah.
I was about to say, but you never knew the score half the time because you do too busy having such a good time.
Well. I didn't.
I don't think they made it out to the game. They just stayed in the lounge.
Yeah.
Sometimes when it was warm. If it was cold, then no. We used to stay in the lounge.
Yeah, I think obviously the difference between making it and not making it a lot of the time, especially at that age, is the sacrifice. What was sort of the part of the sacrifice that you found the hardest?
I think that changes because what you sacrifice, what you're choosing to do. As will change. For instance, when you're a teenager, you want to go and play out every night with your mates, and then you're choosing to go football practice 3 or 4 times a week, and then as they become 17, 18, 19, when your mates are all out on the ale getting drunk, and no, you don't do that, and then the girls part, and there's always sacrifices that you make all the way through that I don't think are seen, but the rewards are obviously massive if you can get there and you look back and you're pleased that you chose to go down that path and be professional and give yourself the best possible chance. The other side of that is I've seen, since I've been older, since I've been a parent, a dad, not necessarily to my kids, but other generations coming through, those that make the sacrifices and are disappointed. It's a tough route to take. I'm very fortunate that the sacrifices paid off. Yeah, which led me obviously into football and then onto the property ladder, which is what you just want to talk about. Yeah.
So you touched on about getting into football. If we think about your whole career, you've got one game that you could wake up tomorrow and go back to. What game's that?
Oh, because I'd like another crack at it, or because it was a really great day.
Just that,
and I would love to just experience it.
Yeah,
again.
just that, like, not sort of the significance of the game or anything like that. Just like that was either the best game for you, or the most important game, or a turning point in your career.
All right, okay. That's probably harder to answer. I mean, the games obviously I'd love to have another crack at would be the FA Cup final, because the way we lost to Chelsea, I'd love to play that game again without it being 40 degrees.
Yeah. That's the FA Cup final.
It was the hottest day I think I've played in my career, and if we were going to beat Chelsea that day, we needed to outwork them, and the heat made that so difficult. So that'd be a game I'd like to have another go at. I think we lost to Wigan in the quarterfinals of an FA Cup. I'd love to have another go at that as well. That was a huge disappointment. And another one was losing to Reading in an FA Cup game at home. That was a year we could have won it. I think that was a year like Portsmouth beat Cardiff in the final or something.
Yeah.
You know, one of them type of years.
Was that about 07, 08, something like that?
Yeah. So you think, I wish we'd have progressed in that year.
Yeah.
I think games I enjoyed massively was, I think we beat Southampton. No, we beat Sunderland 7-1. I think it was at home at Goodison Park, and I scored the 7th goal that day. That was a brilliant day, you know, when goals are flying in and everybody's on the score sheet. The game's done and dusted. Everyone's doing olays and that. That was a great day.
Dressing rooms bouncing.
That was a great day. And then I scored in me 400th game when I was the captain. So I had the armband on. We won 2-1. Samuel Eto'o put the cross in and I slid in and scored at the back post. So as a day and a moment, that was a great feeling.
Yeah.
So one of my favourite memories was when you were playing for England and you had a moustache for Movember. So do you remember that?
Yeah, how can I forget? Yeah, I mean, the moustache has never been a strong point of my face. No. I've got to be honest, it's not something I've ever been able to pull off. But, I mean, timing is everything, isn't it? We're discussing time and being everything. And the one year as a club, we decided to have a right good crack at Movember.
Was it all of you? Did you all do it?
Yeah, pretty much all of us had to go at Movember. Was the very first time, age 31, when you think, I can't get done here, that I got called up to England, which was amazing. But there's not a picture of me up in an England shirt anywhere around our house because it'd have to come with the moustache attached to my face.
I think
look like a Mexican drug lord.
I think with that Movember, it's fine if you're out injured, isn't it? You know, if you're in the physio room all day, you're not playing and stuff like that. Movember's fine. But with you 31, when you got your first cap, did you think, you know, when you get to 28, 29 and that call-up's not come, did you think maybe not going to happen, or always confident that it would one day?
No, not confident. I wouldn't say I was sitting there thinking it's never going to happen either. I think it just got to a point where I stopped thinking about it. You stop looking at the squads.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it.
It's gone. So, I remember, you know, the international break was coming up and I was planning on where I was going to go away for a couple of days because David Moyes would give us a couple of days off. Yeah. So I'd take the family somewhere for a few days. And I remember being out on the training pitch and Phil Jagielka saying, what are you doing on the international break? And I was thinking, well, I think we're going to go to like Tenerife and I'm really looking forward to it. And he just started giggling. I was thinking, why? Never obviously registered anything to me, but the squad had been told. I think England had got in touch with David Moyes, who told the squad, and then he was going to announce it in front of all the squad out on the training pitch. So I was the only one who didn't know. So everyone was asking, what are you doing? And I was obviously embarrassingly now saying, well, I'm going to be doing this while you're away. I'm going to be having a great time while you're away. But then he announced that I'd, been called up to the England squad, which was amazing, brilliant, proud moment. One of the proudest moments of my life, my footballing career, definitely. Walking out in Sweden for my first international cap, their first game in that stadium. My mum and dad travelled over. My eldest child, who was probably around about 7 at the time, travelled over, and we met before in the hotel, and he was laughing at my moustache then as well. To be honest, it was one of them days. And yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that Zlatan Ibrahimovic decided to score, I think 4 goals, one of them being an overhead kick from the halfway line, I'd have had a brilliant day.
Yeah. What's the one I went to then in Wembley? What was that England game?
I think that was...
So we all went down, do you remember? We all got a little minibus down.
I think that one was against Brazil.
Was it?
Again, a good. I was in a few squads back to back. Got a couple of caps, and something I'm delighted about, made up about. It took a long time in coming, and perseverance and hunger, I suppose, to try and stay relevant, stay the best, stay in the team, play well for your football team. And I was rewarded with a couple of England caps.
Fab. So you've obviously done quite a lot within your career. Have you ever thought at this point about going into coaching or anything like that? Yeah,
I thought I would go straight into coaching. I thought that would be the path that I took. I did a couple of your licenses. I did the B license course. Then I went on and done the A license course as well. So I became a qualified coach. But at the end of my career, just in the way I ended up retiring, I just thought I needed a step back from football for a few months. And literally in that time, got asked to come on radio shows and football channels and opportunities to be in the media. And the next thing I knew, I was busy all through the week, and the phone kept ringing, and I kept getting asked to go back and do more, and that led to actual commentating on games, whether it be for the radio or the TV, and then things like Match of the Day and the Match Day live shows, and yeah, absolutely love it. I do
love it.
Yeah.
So tell us more about we were having a conversation on the way in before, and I was telling him about how I'd just spoken to my mum on the phone, and my mum had just come across the fact that Leon 18 months ago started doing a show. He does his own, he's got your own show. My mum has only just worked out that he's got this, and she's only just watched it.
I didn't even know.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, the story, as you said, was, you told me our mum about you doing this now. She was very proud of you, as we all are.
Obviously.
And then she went, yeah, I've watched Leon's show for the first time yesterday. And I was like, Mum, I've been doing it for 18 months.
I didn't know the show. What's
I'm
the show?
really proud. Well, it's on PLP, Premier League Promotions.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Generation XG. So on a Monday, we take a dive into the best games of the weekend, a bit of action, and have a look at exactly how they won and lost tactically on the touch table, on the touch screen, and get a few clips up. And then, every couple of weeks we'll get a feature. We'll go into different football clubs. Like I got to go in and interview John Stones a couple of weeks back and have just a catch up as much as anything with a former teammate. That was so much fun. Yeah, it's on 5 till 6, but unfortunately it's not shown live in the UK.
Shame.
Yeah, so it's shown abroad. So
there's no point us plugging it.
No, there is.
There is. If you
my mum and dad got to watch it for the first time this week, so there are ways.
There are ways of watching it.
So plenty of different TV and punditry work we're doing there. For me, I think the best way, I'm definitely jealous of them Saturdays that you get at Match of the Day. How do they go?
Yeah, brilliant. Again, just when the phone rang the first time to say, do you want to come in and do Match of the Day? I was like, absolutely, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's a long day because you get in for the very first kickoff of that day, whether it be 12:30, and obviously the show doesn't air until 10:30.
Yeah, you're like
night.
Not live, but it's late, isn't
no,
it?
it is. It's live.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's live. It's a live show, and you have to be at your best for that last hour of the whole day, at 10:30 at night. So it involves a lot of coffee and a lot of work during the day, getting the tactics right and making sure the points you want to get across are right. And then you look alongside you to see who you're working with. Might be like Ian Wright or someone like that, which blows your mind considering I was watching him as a kid. But I've had a big learning curve. The first time I went on Match of the Day, nobody really told me how to sit or act or do. So I was in the studio. I think it was Jermaine Jennison and Mark Chapman, and I didn't notice at the time because I was trying to prove to people that I wasn't nervous and that I was relaxed. So I sat back as far as I could, make sure everyone could tell I was relaxed, and I was sat all the way back like that with my legs crossed. And the two people, Chappers and JJ, were both like stood up there straight backed and looking this. And I was thinking, they all look nervous, not me. I'm really relaxed.
Got me thinking about it now.
I know.
And I got pulled in after on the next week to say, have you seen this back? And I was like, what? And he went, just look at this back. And oh my God, I look like I'm half asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look like I should be there.
Day.
Yeah. But also, I think if you would never go into the studio and sit like that. You would always be, a bit more of a straight back, a little bit more professional. You've all shot up, look, since you've all, suddenly your backs are all straightened. But yeah, you sit up a little bit more.
I have slouched a lot through this.
Even the very first time I went on there, I probably wasn't ready to be on there, but I learned a hell of a lot. And yeah, I'm glad they invited me back for a second time. That's all.
You learn best though doing, don't you? So you would probably have never got to where you are now had you not made all of those kinds of mistakes at the beginning.
Yeah, that's a thing in life. I think you make mistakes to get you to be the better version of yourself, to become who you need to be. You can't go through life without making mistakes. It's how quickly you can learn from them and change and adapt. and move forward. So yeah, I've probably done my biggest learning during some of my biggest mistakes, but yeah, it makes you who you are.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think we've got a good exchange on the cards here, because obviously you can teach us about presenting a little bit more, making sure we're sat up straight and speaking clear. And,
I'll get in the car all the way home. You know what you could have done differently there, don't you? You should have sat up straight. You should have talked a bit
you
more.
weren't looking at the right camera.
Didn't look at the right camera.
Yeah. So you can give us that, Leon, and we can carry on with our property.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sort of looking after you that way.
I think that's a fair swap.
Yeah. so touching on that, what's any future plans at the moment for you two in property, or where are we at the moment?
As far as I'm aware,
Whatever I say.
Yeah, whatever she tells me. No,
Yeah.
probably I would have thought a bit more of the same, keeping an eye out for opportunities.
Yeah.
Don't be scared by things that you might think are quite big, or don't be scared by opportunities, being brave, but also knowing that you're capable and being ready. But again, she'll tell me all of that when I'm ready and when we were doing stuff.
Yeah.
As long as the figures look right to Leon. So like we said before, you're more of a figures guy, aren't you? So I can come and say, there's this, 3-bed property in whatever. You're more interested in, right, well, how much money do I have to put in it, and what income, when we're going to get back from it? So as long as all those figures work out for you, then we'll keep, investing in those types of properties. Like we were saying before, trying to diversify the portfolio to make it so you've got a great passive income. So obviously you can go and play golf.
It needs work as well.
Yeah, so all of the same, carrying on doing the same. We're looking for some kind of commercial investment this year, hopefully going forward. And we definitely want to get back into flips.
Yeah, I think you seemed a bit excited before going about the idea of doing a flip again.
I wasn't. I said to you, I wasn't put off it forever. It was just a tough time when we did that last one. And I think we've learned what we needed to from it. So yeah, I'm ready for it. I enjoyed the challenge. I'd like it to be a little bit closer to home this time.
I remember last time you were telling the builder that, if they needed any extra help, you'll go in with us.
Well, I don't mind that. I don't mind hands-on.
Oh, really?
I
mean, we're not saying you're very good at it, but you're keen.
I think I'm all right. I'm a
keen.
good painter. I'm good with tiles. I'm good
you put
with
wallpaper up once, remember?
Wallpaper. I do all that kind of thing, but yeah, I'm not travelling all the way up to the top of the Lake District to do it after a day's work. So
no.
Closer to home, please, Cheryl.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely in my mind now, just flicking through my listings, just thinking, what can I palm Leon off? What's got a little bit of a margin in that I can palm Leon off there? But yeah, I think we'll definitely keep you informed of anything we've got, and I'd love to see you on site doing a bit of work as well after, if we can.
It's not hard to see. You just need to turn up. You'll see me.
You want your
safety
hard
goggles,
hat, don't you?
Safety goggles, hard hat, big boots.
Swapping the football boots for a hard hat. So Leon, as we touched on there, sort of with your property investing, you like to stay completely hands off, or as hands off as you can, and that benefited you earlier on. So for anyone who's cash rich, time poor, like we've said, how important, and how much would you recommend them using someone like Cheryl?
Yeah, massively. I think you have to. I mean, I don't think the people who have necessarily the means to start and build up a portfolio don't necessarily have the time or the inclination to do it. So you want to look at someone like Cheryl with CDK Lettings, and look into somebody managing everything basically from top to bottom, from buying to selling, from every day. Cheryl will do that. CDK Lettings is something that you're very passionate about, Cheryl.
I am. Yeah. So I mean, we look after properties for all different landlords up and down the country, covering mainly over the northwest anyway. There's obviously quite a lot of legislative changes within the industry. And I think sometimes if you've got your own job, your own business, your own whatever that you're doing in your own life, it's not your main priority to keep up with that. If that's kind of, say, your side hustle or your retirement kind of plan, you're not always, potentially you're not always going to be keeping up with all of those changes. So that is the job of the letting agent, to make sure that your property is compliant and that it's being looked after, that there's inspections, that the tenants are looking after the property, that they're up to date with all of the rent. If you're in the position where you potentially might need to serve notice to a tenant because they're in arrears, or you need to sell the property, you've got a letting agent on hand to advise you how to do that and how to do it quickly without and cost effectively. So, there's definitely benefits to putting it through a letting agent. We spend all of our time keeping up to date with all of the day-to-day of it. And, any disputes, anything that comes through to us, we deal with it. Keeps the hassle away from him because he doesn't like that. He doesn't like confrontation.
That's one of the worst things as well. If something happens like the rent's not getting paid, first of all, you've got the fact that you're not getting the money coming in, and then you've got maybe things like potential evictions and all that means, and knocking on doors,
it's all the tricky when you're not
all the legal
experienced
things and everything that goes with it. Yeah, I mean, I've had a tenant that I've gone through all of that with, and I say I've gone through. I mean, Cheryl's gone through all of that with.
I'm like, sign there, Leon.
Which I'll tell you, it makes a massive difference for me.
Do you know that we was talking about this the other day? So this tenant that we've unfortunately had to evict, it was down to rent arrears, and we tried to mediate between her, and she wasn't she didn't end up communicating with us on the end, and it was the only option really that we had before anything got out of hand. But we managed to do it quickly and cost effectively. And I'm speaking to landlords who are self-managing, and I spoke to somebody the other day, and the tenant was £7,000 in arrears, and it was like the landlord, because they didn't have the experience or kind of the know-how really of how to deal with that, they've kind of let it get out of hand, and it's cost them more than if they just used an agent and a solicitor to actually do sort that issue out for them. So for me, I am always very, put it through an agent, it'll save you money in the long run. That is my opinion.
Yeah, so if you're a landlord within the Northwest, or you're looking to become a landlord, definitely reach out to Cheryl. All our information is going to be below here. Leon, been brilliant to have you in, go through your football journey and your investment journey. I'm sure I'll see you soon. You will be seeing Cheryl soon, as you can't get rid of it.
In the car,
She give me a lift home.
Yeah.
I picked him up, so he definitely was on time. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, which is @HowsTheMarket, to find out who our next guest is.